Hey everybody, welcome to the Paula Peralta Show. I'm your host, Paula Peralta, as you know, and I am joined today by one of the people that I would say inspires me the most in a lot of ways because he's super dynamic, super engaging, and really, really driven and like works harder, like the hardest working woman in show business, I would say. And also like, you know, those people that you feel like you're just like family, like we've like worked a lot together, and he's the person that I call when I need like, hey, how do I do this thing in my business, like what would you recommend? Like he's one of those people that I definitely call because I respect so much, and I'm always just like, how do you price this, or how do you approach this, or and I love, one of the things I love the most about him is that like he doesn't gatekeep, which we're going to talk about in a little minute. But please welcome to the show, Orlando Rodriguez. Hello. Woo!
The crowd goes wild.
Yeah.
Orlando, Paula. Orlando, Paula.
Orlando. Hello, my friend.
I am excited. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
When you asked me, I said, perfect. I'll play him for 4 hours and then we make it happen and fly back home.
This is a full-on production. I am committed to an amazing season.
And you asked me like, what was it, a week ago?
I don't even know.
I was like, yeah, I'm down. I don't know what it is, but I said yes, weeks. I'm down.
Yeah, we were in Orlando.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, we need to make this happen.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Honestly, it's an honor. Like, I know you said, it feels like we're family, but that's because everybody kind of says we look alike. So
basically, you're my brother.
So I was like, we are long lost siblings. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about everything and anything. Mm-hmm. Like, just like I told you when I walked in, like, today I am an open book.
Love that.
Anything you want to know, I'm down.
I love it. There might have to be a follow-up conversation because as soon as people know that you're willing to be an open book.
Are we talking about part 2 to be continued?
could be already.
Sebastian, you're going to put that to be continued?
Yeah, seriously. Okay, so let's start off. I think one of the things that I love the most is obviously we met through hair in the beauty industry, and I've known you for years and I've watched you grow and really like show up in so many different ways. And one of the things that I know you just celebrated is recently celebrating going from a salon suite, which was how many years ago?
9 years ago.
9 years ago, a salon suite, into now a multi-million-dollar salon, the Orlando Salon in Houston, Texas. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So can you talk a little bit about that journey? Like 9 years ago, did you think like, oh, one of these days I'm going to have like a multi-million-dollar salon in Houston? Or were you just like, listen, I'm just trying to like sling some hair and like do whatever?
Okay, so to be honest, that's what people ask me. They're like, why'd you name it the Orlando Salon? And I was like, well, I just thought it was just going to be me. Like, I never thought I was going to own a salon. I know it sounds crazy, but like, when you come from where I come from, you don't have a lot of like dreams, visions, goals. You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, like when I started in a suite, it was actually because I had stopped doing hair. So I had given up doing hair. I was like, hair is not for me. Like, I was in a very, it wasn't medically said to me, but like, I feel like I was going through depression.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't happy in life. You know what I mean? 9 years ago, we didn't make the money that we made now. Mm-hmm. So like, I was making like, I think my highest paycheck was like $700. And I mean, that was like my first official job. So I thought I was rich. Like me and my little Yaris, you know what I mean? Like we call it, they called it the black eye because it was missing hood caps. And I kid you not, I will valet that bad boy because I was so proud. I think I spent like $800 for that car. And I was so proud. I used to give it to valet and be like, yeah, park it in the front. So
take care of her.
I just wasn't in a good place in my life, and it's kind of like how everybody was in my neighborhood, because I was still living where I came from. And nobody had aspiration, nobody had goals. And then I was like, what are you doing? Like doing hair, So like I actually stopped doing hair and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do next. But again, where I come from, people just go day by day. It's like, we'll figure it out. I don't know. If we don't figure it out, we have government assistance. We have like stuff like that. So that's what truly kind of stopped my journey of hair. But then my mom was like, she came to me one day. She was like, what are you doing? Like, you cannot, like, we're all stuck here, but you cannot be the one that gets stuck here, And so I was all like, Mom, I'm trying. I just don't know what to do. Like, she's like, you're good at hair. Just continue doing it. Like, and then I was like, Mom, like my bank account was negative. Like when I tell you it was negative, like it wasn't like $32 negative. Like
$6,000, $7,000, $8,000.
Shout out to Chase for it. giving me that loan that I did not even know was a loan.
Yeah, right.
But it was like, I kid you not, I probably like was like $500 negative.
Yeah, no.
They just let me swipe. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
He
I had
likes
a college account. I was like, chung, chung. Well, wasn't in college. Like, don't come for me either. But it was one of those things I was like, I don't have the money. Like, I don't know what to do. And I'm grateful because, you know, and I share this story, but like, I truly, like, when I say I wouldn't be here without my mom, not just because she birthed me, but like, we literally went to her bank. She took out her last $300 that she had in her bank account. Because, you know what I mean? Like, that was like our savings, like $300 or a couple of $100s. And she took me to Armstrong and she was like, you need to do this. Yeah. And so I bought my first Paul Mitchell kit. Yeah, it was $2.99, girl. I was like, I don't have for taxes. Here goes Chase again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she gave me $300, and the rest I paid it with my Chase loan. So then, suites weren't really big back then. So like, I went into a suite not because I wanted to, but I couldn't do her at home because like. Yeah. Being transparent, like I live with roaches in mice, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody's gonna pay that kind of price, you know what I mean? To be like, hey, let me chill with some mice and mouses, you know? So I got a suite, but again, it wasn't a popular thing because suites back then were like the uncool thing, like, you know, just
like
being
the outliers in the beauty industry.
Yes, like you went there to like die you off. You know what I mean? Like you already
like you couldn't make it at a salon.
You couldn't make it to salon, and I was the only young one there. Everybody was like 50 and up. I thought that was a requirement. You know what I mean? Like, so I went in there and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Kind of going back to like my poverty mentality, like day by day. You know, we'll take check by check, and so that's how I started my journey into being in a suite. Like, and I lasted 3 months in a suite by myself, and it just went popping. Like, it was so crazy. Like, I was booked out 6 months in advance. I could not even manage my own self after a week. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, okay, Orlando, like, you need to do something. Because I was like, you can't be like 6 months out and like not even know how to like manage money, how to manage your time. Like, I was the type that like I would wake up 5 minutes before my appointment and just my little Yaris. It used to make a noise. So it used to be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't think Yaris does that, but mine did. So I started in a suite, lasted 3 months, and then my mom, she was just like, hey, I see you need help. Like, you need to hire somebody. And I was like, well, I don't know how to hire somebody. How do you even do that? So I hired my first ever assistant, and we were rocking it out, but we were in 100 square foot space. Oh my gosh. So it was.
How many chairs did you have?
I started with, that was in one suite.
Oh, with just one chair.
One chair. Me and an assistant just like rocking it out. So then I went from 6 months, I started letting my assistant take clients. Well, it started happening crazy because then the people were like, well, I can get in with you. Could I just get in with her? Name's Maureen. Well, shout out to Maureen. She's doing so good. She has a salon too now.
Amazing.
And so I was like, sure, why not? Yeah. So then we had to hire another assistant. And I kid you not, like every 3 months, we were like knocking down walls until I had 4 suites and we were a 4-chair salon. And so like, it's crazy because I had the whole left side of the suites. And then my landlord, I think that's what you call him, landlord, right? Yeah. Like the person you're renting the suite from was like, his name's John. He was like, dude, you got to go. Like,
really?
In a good way. He's like, what are you still doing here? Like, for what you're paying now, you could be paying like in an actual like commercial strip. So I'm very thankful for him because he was just like, you can't be doing this. Because I went up to him and I was like, I need another suite. Like, we just keep growing. Like, nobody's leaving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody's leaving. They're having fun. I don't know what I'm doing. And I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I was paying people through check. Like, I didn't know you had to, like, withhold taxes. Like, none of that. Like, I kid you not, because I don't come from a background where people own businesses. You know what I mean? Like people usually paid cash. I feel good because I was like, well, I'm paying through a check that said, you know, it was I was running through a DBA at that point. Is that what it, or a B, what is it called? A DBA? Is that what it's called?
Doing business as?
Yeah. So I had a check that said doing business as, and it started as Orlando Salon, you know? And so I was just writing the checks thinking like this and that. But the reason I couldn't do it in a suite for me is just like, again, back then it wasn't cool. So I was like, Orlando, this is not where you die off. Like, you cannot. Like, now my mom has started that drive for me. Like, now I started having the clients. The clients were like motivating me. And I was just like, all right, like this is where we go at it. But my dream was never to have a salon. Like, again, because I just didn't have dreams. Like, people were like, was your dream to ever have a salon? And I was like, no. And they're like, they make it like if it's a bad thing, but I'm like, dude, we weren't dreamers.
It's like not. Well, it's also just
know?
like it's like generational lifestyle where it's like you just live the same life that your family's lived. And I think that's so common with like Black and brown people, especially, where it's like, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of just the culture of like, you stay here in the cycle. And so there's not often someone to like pull you out. And that's really cool. I love that your mom was like, listen, like there's something bigger for you out here. Like, go get it.
Yeah.
And I think that support's so cool. So let's fast forward. How many people do you currently have working at the Orlando Salon?
So total, or from our salon team, is 33 people. It's 33 of us, including me. So it's crazy.
That's so crazy.
Now we do take out taxes.
Don't cover me, IRS.
Don't cover me, IRS. Now we're legit. We had to learn. Like, now we got a human resource department. Like, we have all of that. But
so, okay, let's talk a little bit about, like, you were like, I had four chairs. I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, people just kept coming. Like, what do you feel like has continued through now from 4 to 33? And what do you feel like you've had to change or adapt? Like, obviously you're paying taxes now and things like that, but what else, like, culturally in your salon? Because we've talked a lot about this, like your team and what they value and what you think they'd value, but they actually don't value. Like, let's actually talk a little bit about that, because I know trophies are like a really big thing for your team. So can you talk a little bit about the salon culture and like how that has like developed?
Okay, so our salon culture is one of the main reasons people come to the salon. People stay at the salon. So, like, as far as clients, they come because they feel the culture. Like, I always say we're the Disneyland, like, of salons, right? Because, like, you definitely sense the culture as soon as you walk in. I feel like when I had a culture, like, my team was actually staying with me. Why? Because before, again, I didn't know how to run a salon. I didn't know, like, that you had to have cultures. I was just like, people just want to make money, and we just go day by day, right? Because
which actually, sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Like, that's actually a big misconception in the industry. And I see it even more so now, especially with like Gen Z and like the even younger, is that our generation is very motivated by money, right? Like, we came out of less than great circumstances. Like, we're breaking cycles, generational trauma, all of that.
Yes.
And so for us, like, it is a lot of times the money that motivates us. It is so many other things as well, the relationships and the ease and being able to create your life the way you want to. And also, like, the younger generation, it's most often not about the money. No. And so can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, so back then, like you said, it was all about the money. Why? Because we didn't have an option.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't a motivation, we knew that, like, in order to, like, have something, we needed money.
Yeah.
Now, as a salon owner, like, it's not about money. Like, even when we have, like, our monthly meetings, like, it's like 1/3 money and then 2/3 of, like, how's life? You know what I mean? How's everything outside of work? You know what I mean? How's the sky looking today? Like, it's all about emotions. It's all about how you feel. Like, I've had people who, like, I have people who make great money. When I tell you great money, like, stupid money. And they're like, I just feel unmotivated. And I'm like, dude, if I got that check, like, I would be like sprinting, like all over these walls. But right now it's all about, and I feel like a lot of people have gotten in tune. I also feel like, with COVID, that also helped out people to be in tune of like, back up. Like, it's not about like money. It's all about your mental health. It's all about how you feel. It's all about like, do you feel like your body is being recharged as soon as you set in stone with like wherever you're working at. So that's what it's all about now. Like, people just want to feel happy. Like, so we give out, like, it's funny because before I used to give out like Visa gift cards. I used to give like experiences. Like, now it's all about like the experience, as far as like, we used to give out 100 Visa gift cards. You know what I mean? And people were hitting their goals, but like now we have this trophy. This trophy that was not that big of an investment. You know what I mean? And it gets passed around. So it's not like I'm buying trophies all the time. We have trophies that just get passed around within each other, and people fight for those trophies just so they can have it at the station, So like nowadays it's all about how you feel, and it's all about that trophy makes you feel validated. It makes you feel like, oh my God, I'm doing so good. And that's what I'm finding. Like, we even give out Venmo gift cards, right? Because we're digital now. That's another thing we changed. We do Venmo gift cards. People even forget to even cash those in. Why? Because they're like, I want the trophy. I want the, and that trophy is like from Amazon that I just got custom made. Like it was literally probably like $45. You know what I mean? I'm like, $45 trophy or $100 Visa gift card every month.
And then didn't you just go on? You did like a yacht party, right?
Yeah.
Was it the last year? Or it was this year. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So like the mermaid yacht party.
Every year we do. Yes. Every year we do a boat party. And so that's pretty much like what I've learned also is like in order for you to create connections, you also have to find the connections that they're connected to. So that's the way I think about things. I'm like, okay, all of us are like connect the dots. So how could I also not only keep retention, but how could I also create a bigger bond? That way I could like make sure you're good all the time. Because for me, if you're good outside of the salon, you're going to be even better in the salon.
Yeah.
So we created like this culture again. All about the culture is where you bring a +1. It could be your best friend. It could be your spouse. It could be whoever. As long as they're 21 and over, because it is a drinking party. But we pretty much like go to, it's called Lake Conroe. It's about an hour and 15 from the salon. And we just rent out this huge double-decker boat and just have like a music, like DJ, like people are barbecuing, like, and people are just overall having fun, but it's creating those connections.
Yeah.
You know, that like, for example, say you and I, like, even when you're in a space with 33 people, like you can't connect with everybody, even if you want to, because you're just so busy. You know what I mean? Like you're just so busy that you're like, even I sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I haven't seen this person all day, but they're busy, I'm busy, because I still work full time behind the chair. So it just creates those bonds. So yeah, we have like the boat party. We also have like an appreciation dinner where I take them to places so they could get inspired of like, there's a whole nother world that I wasn't introduced to. So like I take them to like the fanciest steakhouse and we rent like the private suite and like the cooks, like the chefs are cooking in front of us, you know what I mean? Because they have like this glass wall. Yeah. But I do that to motivate them, to be like, dude, that McDonald's chicken nuggets you're eating, like, I know that goes hard, like, because I still love those, but like, there's a whole new world. So like, I do that to show them like, look, there's a whole world, like, for you to like be like, all right, we got to continue growing. So for me, it's all about elevation. Even with the boat party, like we rent out like such a cool boat, but I'm like, this could, like, y'all could easily do this. Like, this should be you every weekend if you want it to be. You know what I mean? So like, that is more of like the inspiration through like showing them like what there is out there that wasn't shown for me. Yeah. Like,
and I think that's really, you bring up a really good point there, because I think when you experience 5-star service,
yes,
it's easier to deliver 5-star service. Yep. Like when you know what it's like to have an elevated experience, it's easier to deliver an elevated experience. And again, context creates your reality. So if you understand what this looks like, it's easier to duplicate it. And if you're speaking to like this high-end experience, but they've never experienced it, it's really difficult to like show them what that looks like, or it's a watered down version of maybe what's actually possible. So I think that's so brilliant, and I love hearing you speak to that. So like,
I call it speaking the language.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
anything we do, we have to speak the language. You know, when we do shows, you have to speak the language, right? Yeah. So like, if I tell my team like we are 5 stars, how would they know that if we don't speak the language? Yeah. So when I take them to places like this, you know what I mean? That like, yes, it's an investment, but it's a good return. Even if it might be like might be a financial return, it's like you elevate your experience, you elevate your culture, and then they're like, they want to be a part of it. Who doesn't want to be a part of something bigger and better? Because it's very unfortunate, but like if you're doing the same thing I'm doing, there's really no inspiration. Like, yeah, we can hang out on the weekends, have fun, but like we got to keep this elevation going,
same
you know?
level. Yeah, for sure. Can I ask, what percentage, like what's the diversity in your salon? Like, is it, because I know it's a like very high Spanish speaking, like your client base, your clientele is there's a lot of Spanish speakers. What's the ethnicity of your
So we have a mix. Like, it's funny because even my white girls are mixed. Shout out to Jessie, baby. Her last name.
Honestly, I didn't even know Jessie. I assumed she was Latina.
No, she's not. Everybody does because of her last name. Yeah. No, but like her mom's like from New Orleans. Like, is it like, what is it called? Like when they're like French, or it's like Creole. Yeah, Creole. So they're like her parents, like her mom's Creole and stuff like that. So
she's got some sazon.
Yeah, she got some sazon. And so we do have people who, like, you know what I mean? They are darker skinned. Like, you know, we call them trigueños. You know what I mean? So like, like people think that they're not Hispanic, but they are Hispanic. So like we do see a lot of Latin. It's very Latin based.
Yeah.
But we do have diversity of clients. You know,
Yeah.
people get surprised
For sure.
that we do cater to like
Yeah.
the African American culture.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
we're really good at blowouts. You know what I mean? We're in the Latin
Turning
community,
out some
like
hair, yeah.
to us, it's weird because it's weird because we do see color, but we don't see color when it comes to hair. Like
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you just have
Yeah.
curly hair.
Yeah.
So our clients are diverse, and then we are predominantly like Hispanic. But it's weird to say because we're different tones. So
yeah. There's diversity within the diversity.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, and I think I love what you say about like the hair, because ultimately you're versed in all textures and formation. So it doesn't matter what hair walks in the salon. Like there's someone there that can service it in a really elevated 5-star experience, which is brilliant. And like, what would it take for all salons to represent that? Cool. Okay. So what's next then for the Orlando salon?
Oh my God, that's crazy. So right now I'm all about growth. Like I'm all about like just growing, elevating, not only like elevating myself, but like I work really hard to elevate my team. So like I train them how to be educators. I train them how to like hold classes. Like I train them how to like, like own a salon for a day, because you never know. Like my goal is to like eventually either have partnerships with like my team who has reached the top that they're like, what else is next? I'm like, I got it for you.
Salon, yeah.
Let's open up a salon. My personal goal is to have a bigger salon because I know I'm the heart of the salon. Like even like today when they were like, what, you're leaving to LA? Like, when are you coming back? Like, what do you mean? Like, you're not going to be there tomorrow? I'm like, you guys, I'm only going to be out there for 4 hours and I'm coming right back, So like, I'm very grateful that my team misses me, which I know it's very different because, they say like when the cat's away, the mice play, right? Like mine just gets sad. Like I'm the cheese. I'm their cheese, So like, what's next? I just want to keep getting bigger and better. Like, not only that, like in my salon business, but also like mentally, spiritually, just want to get bigger and better because I come from a very negative place. I come from a very place where, again, you don't have ambitions and it kind of sucks, to be there. But when you're in a place where like things are looking good, you're actually working hard. Like we talked about earlier, we being tired is now a luck for us, So like, what's next? I'll tell you this. I always have a plan, but I still think like how I was back then where I just go with it. Like jump off the cliff and whatever happens, happens. Because you might land on water, you know what I mean? And like if you break a rib, it's all good, Like you look skinnier. No, so like that's one of my biggest things when people ask me, they're like, okay, what does it take? I'm like, just do it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Whatever happens, happens. I don't know if it's just from poverty, but like when you come from nothing, it's hard to go back to that because you're at least going to have something, even if it's just an experience.
Right.
So what's next? I just want to keep going. Like, I just want to keep running. Like, whatever, like, God has on his path for me, like, just keep running. Keep running.
I love that. So what or who, like, inspires you? Like, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay inspired? I know we've had, like...
You want me to cry, don't you?
I mean, listen. It's good. It'll just get those views. Get those views up.
Like, that's it. This is where the tears come in.
Like, yeah. But I'm genuinely... I mean, we obviously, just, like, so everybody knows, like, we have... Orlando and I talk a lot. You've sent me books. We've talked about books. Like, hey, I'm reading this. You need to go read this book. Or, like, I see you. I've watched you over the year, like, or two, really, like... dial in on like going to the gym and really getting, nurturing your body and things like that. But like, what is it? What else? Like, what else is it that inspires you or motivates you?
Of course, I mean, I know it's cliche because a lot of people say, but it's truly my mom. Like seeing my mom like has worked her butt off like her whole life. Like she's still working to this day. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's at the salon working, but like she truly motivates me because when I look back and I see somebody like that example, like raising 4 kids on her own, like working 3 to 4 jobs, like she used to clean toilets, she used to clean up hospitals, like anything that she could do, like as far as cleaning, she would clean up people's homes, like, so like she always had 3 to 4 jobs, why? Because she had to. So for me, like when I think about inspiration, like inspiration to me is a luxury feeling. Like not everybody gets that luxury. It's like a Chanel brooch, you know what I mean? Or like a Gucci brooch. Like not everybody could afford it, but if you can, it's a luxury, right? Like, so she didn't have luxury feelings like that. Like I'm pretty sure there was not one moment where she was like, oh, I feel uninspired. No, like Her was like, look, like
I gotta feed my kids. I gotta keep a roof over our head.
Like we need food, we need roof, like we need to make sure that like there's no other option but to keep going. I'm very fortunate because like I feel like having that fortunate feeling, it's like being able to say I'm uninspired, being able to say I'm unmotivated, like that's such like I don't want to validate those things because when I look back and I look at like my mom, like which is a representation of like somebody who just hustled, came to this country.
Yep.
And I also told myself, Orlando, like if she wanted you to be average, she would have still been selling mangoes in the bus in Central America. You know what I mean? So like she came here and she didn't have me wanting something better, but she was like, I need a better future. And when she got here, she was like, I have to make it work. So I like to have the mentality where I'm like, look, we're gonna make this work. Like we have no option. So she's literally my true inspiration. Like, and we're human, you know what I mean? There's some days where you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired. But then I'm like, look, you don't have 4 kids. Like, you're definitely not living where you came from. You know what I mean? Like, you have a beautiful home. You know what I mean? You have 2 awesome dogs that are so spoiled. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like that's a luxury feeling that you should not even be having. I like luxury, just not that feeling.
Yeah.
You know, not that emotion.
Yeah.
So for sure, inspiration comes from her because seeing somebody who didn't have options. Like, we have options, you know? And I always say that I don't want to be rich. I just want to have options.
Yeah.
You know, I come from eating rice and beans, but I love a steak. But having the options. It's not having the money to afford it because you know how it is when you live paycheck to paycheck. You technically you have money that you could go buy a Gucci brooch, but... And sometimes we do, you know what I mean? We're reckless. You know what I mean? Because we want to look the part.
So you're going to be eating rice and beans for a little bit. Yeah. Well, and I think too, like for me, what you're describing is like the energy of wealth versus like riches, right? Because like that wealth is the luxury of choice and like truly being able to navigate your life in a way that works for you. And that, I think being like an entrepreneur, it's not easy always. It can be really fun and it can be really rewarding. And sometimes you're just like, what am I doing? Like, I hate this. Someone just take care of me. Yeah. But also like, then you get to that energy of like, but I get to choose. Like if I want to take a day off, I can do it. If I want to take a trip, if I want to buy something for my team, if I want to, whatever, like, you know, get another brooch, whatever that is, it's like that choice, I think is for me, what motivates a lot of my like keep just like putting one foot in front of the other is like the more I choose, the more choices I have. Yeah. And so for me, that's like always a huge motivator. So I love that you're speaking to that because it's just like I think about that a lot, like the privilege of being like, I'm tired or
I don't want to go to work today. Like you know
or I only have this much money in the bank account and I'm like, bitch, there was a time when you had like negative.
Yeah.
A lot.
There was a time when Chase was your sugar daddy. You know what I mean? Like, Chase was like funding you. You know what I mean? Like, but again, it's just like those are feelings that are just luxury feelings. Yeah. Like luxury feelings in the sense of like, you know what I mean? Like there again, not that there's some like a lot of like a high percentage of America don't have options like that. They don't have options to be like, I don't feel like going to work. You know what I mean? Or like, you know what I mean? You know how it is when you're behind the chair, like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this last client. Like, you know what I mean? So like for me, it's keeping that hustler mentality. But also what shifted is I will tell you this, change your environment and your mentality changes.
For sure.
So when I started elevating, you know what I mean? Which I still don't even feel like I'm at the top. But like when I felt like, you know what, you're rocking it out. I changed my environment. And usually my environment is like where I live. So I started living in different areas. And then the people were doing things different. And I was like, wait, I'm actually at the bottom of the totem pole. And then you feel like you're elevating. And then I moved. So like, you know, going from apartment, then moving to like what I thought was like the nicest high rise. Come to find out, I was like, wait a minute, this probably wasn't nice. You know what I mean? And then moving, like I would tell you what changed my mentality was 2 years ago. I moved to like this beautiful high rise, loved it. It was so nice. Like I was nervous because I was like, I can't believe I'm going to pay this. But like, I didn't know that was going to change my life because I had a Jeep, right? And I thought I was making it with my Jeep. You know, I was like, beep, beep, who's got the keys to the Jeep? Orlando does. Now we can valet this bad boy. But everybody in that high rise had Bentleys, G-Wagons. Like, it just looked like a Bentley and a G-Wagon, like, dealership. Yeah. And then I was like, holy crap. Now you're back to being that insecure little boy who didn't have nothing, but now I do have something. It just feels like I'm back there. So even when I went to the gym, like I was listening to Drake, Maluma, Karol G, but you know, they're just showing you how to spend money at the club. You know what I mean? Or like going through a heartbreak and staying there. And these people were like reading books. And I say these people because their mentality is different. So
these Bentley driving, high rise living.
Yes. You know what I mean? Like, they were reading books, they were listening to audiobooks, they had like, personal trainers, like, but not because they had the money, it's because they knew that's what they needed to do to make sure that they have accountability. So then it just started changing my mentality. I remember one time, I kid you not, like I was like tossing and turning, and I look out the window because we had these floor to ceiling windows, and it was like 4 a.m, and there was, I kid you not, probably like a good 30 to 50 people jogging outside. And I was like, I thought something was going on. I said, these people are crazy.
They're running from zombies or something.
You're like, in the hood, you really don't run at night. You know what I mean? So I was like, what's going on? And then next thing you know, like, there's like a jogging party every morning, but you have to be there at 4 a.m. And I was like, dang, Orlando, like, you think you're making it, but people are already up like 4 hours before you making it. So that's what like inspired me again. So like changing your environment, it's going to change everything. Like, it's true what they say, birds of a feather flock together. You know what I mean? Until you end up being a chicken and ducks. Then you're like, whoa, how do I paint myself white? You know what I mean? So like, that's what helped me a lot. It's like, I started changing like my, where I live or who I started hanging out with. I started hanging out with people who actually had goals, who had motivation. Like, even when we do shows, you know what I mean? Like, me and you talk about like, hey, we got this going on. We got this going on. I mean, we probably talk about going to the moon too, you know what I mean? To do a show, you know what I mean? And now it's like, well, how do we get there?
Right.
Before it's like, no, people like us don't usually get there. Like, no, you're crazy. Like, people who like are always like, no, you're crazy. They just don't have that mentality yet.
Yeah.
So like reading books, like I never used to be a book reader. You know what I mean? I never, but now I know that like, in order to feed my mind, my body, my soul, it just feels so good. Like it just feels so good when you're like in a good place. And it doesn't mean financially, it feels so good to be in a place where you're like, I'm at a peace. I'm where I thought I would never be. You know what I mean? This is like a whole new world. Yeah. And it's like, it feels good because you're like, you open up your eyes to something new and you're like, whoa, there's more.
Yeah.
For
sure. And I think too, like coming out of like a certain mentality, like you don't realize the value of having ease and like the value of having like space, and just like that is such a privilege.
Yeah.
And it's something that I never take for granted. Like I'm grateful for the money. I'm grateful for the beautiful home that I have and my beautiful little pup family, like all the things, like I'm so grateful. And I fully recognize my privilege that like not everyone has that show up for them. And also like, it's not enough for me. And that I think was a huge part of my journey, is like really being okay with like, this is great and I'm so grateful for it and I'm going to keep asking for more. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I love, and like where we connect is that it's like, hell yeah, go get it. Like go get it, because someone's going to get it.
Yeah.
Like that money is on the table. It might as well be in your pocket.
Exactly.
And so I think that for me, I'm just like, it's just never going to be enough. And I, not from a sense of lack, but from like that, the awareness of the possibility.
That's what it is. It's never enough because there's so much.
Yes.
Like there's
like
so
what else?
much.
It's like a playground.
There's
with
a reason
every
why
toy.
they say there's only 1% of this world that's crazy wealthy, right? Because they know that it's never enough. Even like money could keep stacking, inspiration could keep stacking, but not only that, but like we as a person could keep growing because there's never enough. Because like again, coming from where we come from, like you're like in this box, right? And people don't make it out of there, stuff like that. No, like we make it out of there, but once we see that world, we're like, holy crap, like there's a whole world. So like I get what you mean in the sense of like there's endless possibilities, there are endless opportunities, like, but again, we have to give it to ourselves, because so long you're like waiting for something to happen. Like you're sitting at the Metro bus waiting for a Bentley to come pick you up. Yeah. You know what I mean? But every 30 minutes, it's the same Metro bus. But what does that Metro bus do? It's like keeps doing the same route. So, it's kind of like, one thing that I read that I love, and it's like, you're sitting at the airport holding the same luggage. You still haven't boarded the plane. So, like, I love that because I'm like, there's so much more to see. Like, when would I have thought that I'll fly out here to come to the Paula Peralta show? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're a beautiful, like, white suit just for you.
Thank you. I love it.
You know what I mean? When would I thought I would be, like, living this kind of life that I'll be, like, just literally, I call it jet setting, even though I wasn't on a jet. I was Southwest. Shout out to you guys.
I know. To be fair, I tried so hard. I wanted to buy you first class on Delta, but I couldn't make the times work. So I tried so many times, but yeah, no, for real though, but that's the thing is like, even for me, like I remember even the first time that like I flew first class and just being like, wow, this is like the space of it is so much more. It just has a different energy to it. And it is that elevated experience. It is that like the ease and the peace that of having like the luxury. And I think to me that's more valuable than like I think people try to make it about they try to make it about the symbols, like you're talking about Karol G and like Drake. Like they try to make it about the status symbols, and I think there is for sure an element of that because it does project a certain energy, and then people do treat you differently. But it's also just like that the energy of having ease and luxury is like so nurturing, and that I think is so important, especially when you get to like our level where like you're hustling, like we are grinding, like there are sleepless nights, like there are, just days where you're just going back to back to back to back, or, especially as a salon owner, like solving everybody else's problems. And like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you have to find those moments where you can like nurture you and really like allow yourself to indulge in that energy of luxury.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like you find your value.
Yeah, for sure.
Because for so long, we don't have a value. Like, growing up, I didn't know what my purpose was. I didn't know, like, what was I going to do in life. And then when you find your purpose, you find your value. And when you find your value, you're like, holy crap, I could be somebody, right? And then when you start getting a taste of it, you're like, it's addicting. It's like sugar. You get addicted to it. You're excited about it. And then you start seeing more value onto yourself. It's kind of like polishing, like, like an old jewelry piece that you have, right? Like, it eventually is going to, like, get that bright gold, beautiful, like, result that I had in the beginning. But like, we don't choose where we come from. We don't choose how we were raised, but we do choose how we end up. And so having that value, you start feeling more confidence. And it's all about confidence. It's all about confidence because for me, when I used to be like, back then when I first started educating, I was like, people like me never get stages like this. But now I'm like, no, there's people like me who get stages. I just don't know them, right? Yeah. But when you start being in other rooms...
Well, and you get stages like this.
Yeah, so, right?
Somebody does it.
But you start coming in other rooms and then you're like, wait, you come from the same background as I do? I thought I was the only one. And it's, that's the one thing I will tell you. You start noticing that, wait, this is normal. Like people do get out of like the hood. You know what I mean? It's just like... How fast you're going to do it and when you're going to do it.
Yeah.
But just getting out of that, And I am very grateful that my mom pushed me out of that because she was just like, coming from siblings, I have 3 siblings, right? And she was like, you have to get out of this. Like, you have to get out of this. Like, so for her to see that in me, I was just like, holy, like, it was pressure, but it also was like, now that I think about it, it was the pressure that I needed to like, just to keep going.
And then, okay, also too, I want to like shout out to Mama. But I remember Tati.
I love her so much. This is non-alcoholic Tati, just letting you know.
But I remember too, like, didn't you buy your mom a car?
I did.
Did you buy her a house too?
I did buy her a house.
Yeah. Okay, can you talk about that? Like, what was that like?
Oh my God. Okay, so we were rocking it out.
But not just like a car. You bought her like a nice SUV, right? I can't remember what it was.
It was a Cadillac.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She always wanted a Cadillac. But let me tell you how this happened. Like, we're such hustlers that like we're like those horses who have what are they called?
Blinders.
Like blinders. Like we're just like hustle, right? Because again, not only is it addicting, but you're like, we gotta keep going. Like for me, my motivation was like, I gotta get my family out of the hood. Like if I somehow made it out, like I gotta bring them with me.
Yeah.
So I was having we were rocking it out at the salon. We weren't making like multi-million dollars, but we were rocking it out. We were getting some kind of acknowledgement from Paul Mitchell, and like they're like, you're rocking it out, like, you know what I mean? And I had just gotten my storefront. So this was 6 years ago. Not so long ago.
Has it really been 6 years ago?
Yeah, wow. That I got the storefront, yeah. And so next thing I know, I was talking to my mom. And I was like, I just had gotten like off of work or something. And I was like, what are you doing? She's all like, oh, I'm just here. She's like, it's really hot outside. And so I was like, well, turn on the AC. And then she's all like, my car doesn't have AC. And that's when it hit me. I was like, holy, like, whoa. Like, take your blinders off, reassess. And then that's when, like, that same day I went to go buy her a car. Because I was like, how am I over here? I mean, I wasn't in a Porsche or anything like that, like I am now, but like I was still like in my Yaris. It's funny, right? But at least my Yaris had AC, but like my mom was still rolling down her windows, and that's how I grew up. Like I never had a car that had AC until I bought my Yaris. But like, and it wasn't spitting out like the coldest air either. Like let me clarify that. Like it was just like a little bit of wind, And so that same day, I kid you not, I talked to my sister and I was like, dude, can you believe mom is like without an AC. And she's like, well, yeah, she's been having that car for like years. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. So literally, I kid you not, like I went to the Cadillac dealership because she loves, like, it's funny, she loves Cadillac but never had one. You know what I mean? And so I literally got her an SUV, and that same day, like I gave it to her. And at that point, I was posting everything on social media. So like I had recorded a video which I still to this day I haven't shared. You know what I mean? And I told her, I was like, Mom, there's this car out front. Like, what is it doing there? And she came to look at it. She was like, oh my God, like, what is this car doing? Because she was still living in the hood. You know what I mean? And so she was like, what is this car doing here? Da-da-da. And I was like, I don't know. Like, it's parked right in front of like your apartment. Like, we like call the tow truck or something. And Mom was like, no, let's figure it out who it is. Because she's such a kind heart. Like, she's such a kind heart. So then next thing you know, I was like, JK, Mom, it's your car. You know what I mean? So like, she literally fell on the floor, started crying. And I was just like, I was bawling and we were crying. And she's like, and to this day, like, my mom has her like a credit card that I pay off for her. I kid you not, she never goes over $100 on that credit card because she's always like, no, you deserve this and stuff like that. So she's, even if you meet her now, like I try to buy her like Gucci bags, Chanel bags, she would never wear them. Like she still rocks like her Walmart little bags and like her HEB bags. So like I got her a car, which I will tell you this industry did change my life because now my goal is like, how do I set up like my parents for success? Like with my mom, like how do I make sure she's good? Because for so long she worked hard, like
take care of everybody else.
And for so long she didn't have options, And so I bought her first car, working car that wasn't like shutting off on the side of the highway, Yeah. And then after that, like, okay, can I tell you, it was so dumb, but it was so cheesy. I recorded that, but still didn't post that either. I told her I was being part of like, because my mom thinks, since day one, my mom thinks I've been like uber famous. Like my mom's like, she thinks I'm in telenovelas. Like she thinks like when I went to Mexico, she thought I was like, I don't know, Cheyenne or something. Like, like she's like, he's in TV, like all this. And I'm like, Mom, don't hype me up too much. Like I'm trying to get there, So I told her I was doing like a home improvement episode for HGTV, and she literally believed it. She
believed you.
So like I was like, Mom, I'm gonna show you 3 homes, but you know what I mean? We're acting like we're shopping for homes, even though we can't afford these homes. Like we're just acting like we're shopping. So my mom was like, well, what do I wear? I was like, Mom, just wear whatever you want. So she wore her like best Sunday outfit. Yes. I was like, cute. When I saw her, I was like, I know I'm gonna cry by the end of this. And next thing I know, like, it's funny because the first home that I showed her was the one that I actually had bought for her. And I literally saved up for 2 years because I was like, if I know I want to do something, is I want to buy this house in cash. Like, I don't want to like finance it. Like, I want to be like, Orlando, you've made it. You know what I mean? So I saved up money. Like, you know how it is. You worked hard. Said, like, if a client wanted to get in at 6 p.m., my salon closed at 6, but I got you. You know what I mean? Because like, I had that. I was like, I need to get her out of there. Like, it's too long that you have roaches and rats as pets. You know what I mean? So like, and then here I am elevating. I wasn't living in a high rise, but like I still wasn't living where, back where we come from. And so I was like, Mom, we're going to do a home improvement. I'm really excited. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And she's like, okay, like I'm excited. And so the first home we showed her, like, I actually wasn't the one that I bought her, right? So like we showed her a home, and then the second one was the one that we showed her. But my mom, like, she was standing like this, and she's like, this is beautiful. Oh, I like the trees. Or like, you know what I mean? I'm like, Mom.
She was playing her part.
Yeah, she was playing her part. You know what I mean? And so like, I showed her one that was like a little bit like, crappier, which the rooms were smaller. And she's like, this is enough room for me to have my friends. And Orlando, I think you're going to love it here. Like, and I was like, Mom, we need raw and unfiltered. Like, you know what I mean? So like, then the second home, I was like, Mom, you really got to tell me like, what do you think about this house? And I was like, okay, no, you probably don't want to know that. Because what if she's like, hates the house?
Yeah.
So then, but again, she was playing her role because she was like, we're on HGTV. You know what I mean? And like, she was like, I love it. It's beautiful. It's spacious, like. And then next thing you know, at the end of it, I was like, well, guess what? You've won this house. And she was still acting the part. She's like, thank you so much, HGTV. So she was like, she thought that it was still a joke. You know what I mean? So I was all like, and then I was like, no, Mom. Like, I told my sister, because my sister was recording on her camera, right? How production is that,
Yeah.
So I was like, no, Mom. Like, I was like, Jennifer, put it down. Like, no, Mom. Like, I bought you this house. Welcome to your new home. And she lost it. I thought she was going to pass out.
I'm going to cry.
I know. It's the most beautiful moment when, like, again, coming where you come from, I did not even know people owned homes, like, because everybody lived in apartments. You know, like coming from less fortunate places, you think that those are the places where everybody lives. So like being able to like see my mom, like it's so crazy to say it like without getting emotional, but it was like when a child forgot to like oh like those little girls that get their first like American doll, you know what I mean? That like they're just so excited, they don't know to cry, they don't know to laugh, and like seeing all those emotions just really warmed my heart. That I was like, I stepped back and I was like, damn, like you made a good decision. But for me, not that I felt like I had to, but I was like, she planted the seed. If she wouldn't have given me her $300 that she had in her bank account, like I wouldn't be living the life that I think I have now. Like, you know what I mean? So like this is the fruits of her labor. So for me, I'm like, it just felt so beautiful. And man, we cried together, like, you know, and again, she was like, no, bless her heart. She was like, no, you need to live in this home. You know, you still don't have a home. Like, you need to live here. Stop, you know, don't try. No, no, no. Like, if you want, you know, it was a 3-bedroom house. So she's like, you could have one of the bedrooms there. And I was just like, oh my God, mom. I was like, no, this is for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is all your hard work. And we reflect, you know, she's like, you know, I never thought coming from way back to her roots, you know, like, you know, selling mangoes in a bus would ever be able to like get me here. You know, and I was like, it's literally those mangoes that you were selling what started it. Like that's what creates my hustle, you know?
Yeah.
So I was able to buy her a home and she loves it to this day so much. Like she shows off that house like it's a mansion.
Oh
You
my
know?
gosh. It's so interesting too, because I think like some of this is cultural and like also I don't know if you can speak to this, but there's this thing about like it's so easy to buy things for other people. Like does that show up for you? Because for me, like I will drop so much money on people that I love, like and not even think twice about it. But like when it comes to buying for myself, like now it's getting better. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's getting better. But like, is that a thing for you as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is because for me, I just feel guilty. You know what I mean? Like I always say like, no matter what, like I'm always gonna have that poor little kid like in the back of my head of saying like, hey, you can't really afford that or like, and I'll tell you this, I always, when I first heard of like Louis Vuitton, it was when I went to Palm to school. So I didn't even know designer. Like designer was Salvation Army. Actually, designer to me was Payless. You know what I mean? Like, and when we got 2 pairs of shoes that year, I said,
it was the BOGO.
We made
they
it.
Had the BOGO sale.
Well, I didn't know it was BOGO sale. Like, I thought my mom was rich. You know what I mean? Like, when she was like, you get 2 pairs of shoes today. I said, oh, we made it. Like, you know, we made it, you know? And so for me, it's one of those things that I always think back of like, you could be doing something better with your money or you could be doing this with your money. But you're right. It's easier for me to buy things for other people because I think what also happens is when you weren't able to give people anything and it just so happens that money is attached to it. Now you want to give them everything because you're like, look, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. You know what? Like here, you know what I mean? Like take this or, you know?
I will take it.
I would take it. And so for me, it is really hard for me to spend on myself. Why? Because I always have that poor little kid mentality of like, you know what I mean? Because again, like people are always all like, I don't know if it was like that in your house, but like, no, we shouldn't buy that because we need to buy that for food. So one thing I would never, ever like, ever like think about money is when it comes to food. Because for me in my household, it was like, you never tell no to people when it comes to food. It might be for toys, it might be for shoes, but food, we could never like, how do you say negar in English?
Like negate or like neglect or like refuse.
You refuse. Yeah. You can never refuse anybody anything. Like when it like you can refuse anything but food because you know what I mean. You need that to survive. So for me, it's hard till this day. Like you know what I mean. I want to buy my car. Like I have a dream car that I want.
What's
like,
your dream car?
A G-Wagon. Yes, I want a G-Wagon so bad. And so like I'm still finding myself to go buy it because I'm like, no, Orlando. Like you could be doing something else or like what else could you be doing that with that money? But then. It's one of those things that I think about and I reflect back and I'm like, would I even be doing that with that money?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I do buy a lot of things for people because, especially my family, like my family casts me for the world, but they still don't. Yeah. Like my mom doesn't. So it's crazy.
So what's going to like push you over to the edge to buy the G-Wagon? Maybe this conversation.
Oh my God.
But like, what's stopping you?
So now when I hit certain accomplishments, I'm like, now that's the way that I justify me getting something.
It's like a reward.
Yeah, so it has to be a reward. You know what I mean? Again, like that's what I was gonna say with the Louis Vuitton backpack. Like I always wanted one when I was at Palmer to the school because all these girls had like Louis Vuitton, and I was like, well, they've made it. Again, my vision of what they've made it, right? So I was like, I need one to feel like I've made it. And I went years without it. And then when I first got my storefront, that's when I was like, okay, when you get your storefront, you're gonna buy that backpack. You know what I mean? So I went to the Louis Vuitton store. I tried it. It looked really nice. You know what I mean? And I left without buying it. Because I still was like, no, Orlando, like, you could use that money for something better. Or, like, you know, you could do this for your family. Or you could do this for your team and stuff like that. And it probably was, like, a good another 2 years before I actually went in there and bought it. You know? And it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
And so what's going to take me is, hopefully, at the end of this year, if we hit another million mark added to it, that's my goal. Like, if we hit that other million, I'm gonna get myself a G-Wagon.
And are you on track?
We're on track. So stop.
So like next month, you're gonna get your G-Wagon next month. Oh
my God. You're making me red. I'm like getting nervous again. You know, it's like it reminds me of like.
Are you nervous or are you excited though?
I'm excited, but like it always. One thing that I for sure will never get rid of is that like the young little Orlando who didn't have the confidence or who didn't have the value. So, like, even when you even said it right now, like, it takes me back to, like, do I have the value enough to be in a car like that?
Am I worth it? Yeah.
Am I worth being in a car like that? You know what I mean? Am I worth, like, what are people going to think when I'm in that car? Not in a bad way, but am I going to live up to the expectations? So, like, that's what gets me, like, not nervous. It gets me, like, again, it's the insecurity.
Yeah.
Because my insecurity will never leave as far as, like, where I come from.
Yeah.
Because I was raised there for, like, 20-something years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, for me, it's the insecurity of like, are you worth it? Are you good enough for it? So attaching a goal for me, I'm like, this is validated it. You know?
I love that.
It's crazy.
I can't wait.
I'm gonna pull up in a G-Wagon.
I can't wait. Yes.
Can you imagine what color do you think it would be?
Either like a crazy flashy color or like silver. Like something really like I don't know, what black? Would you do black? Or a white?
You know what? I love white.
Yeah, I can see you in a white. I mean,
I love white. I can
see you in a white G-Wagon.
And you know, when I thought about this outfit for you, I was like, I just want to be pure. I want to be transparent.
Totally, yeah, right?
I want to be anything you want me to be.
Just like your
today.
G-Wagon. Or you're just embodying your G-Wagon.
My color today. I'm embodying the G-Wagon.
I love it. Okay, there was something else I was going to ask you because I love that you bring up the thing about like the kind of like insecurity or like, am I worth it? What is that? Because I know that even recently we had an interaction. It was I think in Anaheim with Vagaro.
Yeah.
And shout out to Vagaro. They're sponsoring this podcast. What up, Vagaro? We love you. Also,
we love you.
We've talked about side little commercial moment. Iconic 23 is happening in San Diego, California, September 25th and 26th. I think you're going to be there. I'm pretty sure. I think we had a conversation about it, but I think Orlando might be there. I'm definitely going to be there. Jeannie Mai is one of the people there, Tabitha Coffee as well. That's where I met Venus Williams last year. So if you guys want to go to Iconic, you can head over to vagaro.com/pro/Paula and you can actually get a discount on your ticket. So head over there.
Oh, a discount.
A discount.
Let me get my ticket.
Yes. We can have a yacht party with your team. Bring your whole team.
Let's do it all.
But so what I thought was really interesting is I was talking to you about like, oh, I just partnered with Vagaro. Like, you're like, oh, I use Vagaro. I was like, what? That's amazing. Yeah. So we had this whole conversation. And then I introduced you to them. And like, it was so interesting to me that like you were like, you're OG Vagaro user.
Like OG. Yeah. Like when they first came out with like the app, you know, like before it was just like web, then the app or like, you know, the conversion of it. But like, I've been using Vagaro for 9 years. Yeah. Like, and it's funny because when we were at Anaheim, like the people that were working there, I had been with them longer than they were.
You're like, I can school you. Let me show you.
I did tell them. You know what I mean? I was like, if you have any errors, I figured them out. Like, you've been here for 6 years, I got you.
Yeah, right. But I think that's what's cool is like, one of the things that really struck me, and this is the case anytime that we've worked together, is like how much people just gravitate towards you. And I think like it's something that people often want, like that kind of like charisma and that personality. but it's not always like not everyone always embodies it. And so can you talk a little bit about that in terms of, I know we're talking about like personal development and growth. Like, do you feel like you've always been that way? Have you always been super like charismatic and engaging? Or do you feel like it's something you had to like really like work on?
So I feel like I naturally had it, but it was suppressed. Why? Because I was a little bit more flamboyant. You know what I mean? I was a big talker. Even in school, they'll be like, you know, in the progress report, they say talks too much. You know what I mean? So like, I always felt like I had to like dim myself down a lot, but I also didn't have the confidence or the validation to be like, this is who I am. Right? And so for me, like, again, just coming from like where I come from is you really can't be yourself. You have to be somebody else. You have to be more hard. You have to be more rough around the edges. You know why? Because your friends are all doing cool things like that, right? Like they're smoking cigarettes, you know, they're smoking weed, they're doing drugs. Like, so like combination to that is like a hard ass. Like, you know what I mean? When you think of somebody like doing drugs, you don't think of somebody like gentle and soft. Like, you know what I mean? You don't think of a Teletubby, right? So for me, like, behind closed doors, I was very like, you know, my mom always allowed celebrating me. She was like, she always told me, be who you are, be who you are. But I also love that she was like, be who you are here, but just be careful when you're outside of here because I'm not there to protect you. And she even told me, I remember one time when I came out to her, you know, I came out to her and it was the most cheesiest thing. Like I wrote her a letter because I was so nervous.
How old were you?
Ninth grade in high school, whatever age that was. I wrote her a letter and I was like, dear mom, I love you so. Like, I just wrote something so cheesy, right? And I left it in the bed. And then she dropped me off at school. And then I like called her from the school phone because we couldn't afford cell phones, right? And so I was like, Mom, I left something in the bed on top, you know, and I knew she was gonna read it because you know Hispanic moms are nosy, you know,
right?
Like anything in their house is theirs. So she read it, and I kid you not, the whole day I was like hyperventilating. I was like, my anxiety was high. She picked me up. She did not say nothing in the car. I was like, dang, I'm about to die. Like I'm about to die. She took me to a park and she reminded me something that she always told me. She was like, look, I want you to be yourself with me. But you have to understand not everybody is going to celebrate you. You know, she's like, and she said it like this. She's like, outside of where we come from, it might be a different story, but like, we're here. And like, I don't want to, it gets me emotional a little bit because she's like, I don't want to ever hear you getting like gay bashed or like, you know, end up dead because usually that's what happens to people who, you know what I mean, are from the LGBTQ community and, you know, plus community. And she's like, I just don't want that to happen to you. So promise me you just be careful. Like at home, do whatever you want. She's like, if you want to wear my clothes, like whatever you want to do, just make sure like you're always cautious of your surroundings, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, like
so
aware.
I was always suppressed. Because like I was like, and it's not because my parents didn't allow me to be myself. Is that, well, I say parents, but I grew up with my mom. It's not like my mom didn't allow me, but it's just the area I was in didn't allow me to be myself. You know, and so like,
It wasn't safe.
When you're not allowed to, when you don't feel safe, you create insecurities. You know what I mean? So like when I would wear tighter jeans before tight jeans were even a thing, you know, I was creating the trends, right? Like when I would wear tighter jeans, I'll get made fun of. So I was all like, okay, you can't do that. You know what I mean? So like I always wanted to be fashion forward, but it was suppressed, right? I always wanted, like, I've always had humor. I find humor even when I'm crying. Like I could cry and still be like trying to crack a joke. You know what I mean? So like, I kid you not, like that's one thing that I'm like, don't invite me to a funeral because I'll probably be like, how you doing? Like, you know what I mean? But it was always suppressed. So like I always was jokeful, but like I couldn't make certain jokes because it was just like, or like I couldn't laugh or be myself. So like for me now, like I love that in the space that I am, especially the hair industries, people actually like me. They enjoy me.
Love
so
you.
like so for me, I'm like, if I'm a ray of sunshine, like I just want to shine for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's my mentality. You know, even in the Orlando show, I was just like, you know, I could sit there and be like, I just want people to love me, but it's more than just me. I'm like, I want people to fall in love with our company. I want people to be reminded of our company, or people who haven't, you know, been in love with us to fall back in love with us. And like, to me, that's how my mentality is. So like, I was suppressed. Have I always been like this? Yeah. Like you guys, my mom, like I always was like the kid trying to like, you know, blow out everybody's like birthday candle, you know. But I'll light it up again. I'm like, okay, your turn, you know? So I've always been that kid who's just always been like funny, humorous, like who's always been like, you know, more flamboyant, like always wanted to wear like, you know, I used to wear boots. By the way, can you believe that? I still wear boots.
Yeah, I'm like,
but I used to wear cowboy boots. Why? Because like, and I used to get the red ones and stuff like that. So I've always was like this, but it was just so suppressed from the environment that I came from. And now being in a place where like I'm more elevated. And I would tell you, like, when people come from like our mentality, not everybody's fashion forward. So like people constantly look at me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like now it's like, especially the stuff that I wear, I'm like, okay, maybe I should go back to being that like.
I love
but
it.
now it's celebrated, so I love it. Like, I mean, I walk into a room without a shirt in a suit, and people are like, "I love it. What is this?" Or you know what I mean? So I feel very grateful and very honored to be able to actually be the rainbow I've always wanted to be like that unicorn in a room, and like, not in the sense of like I'm the star of the show, but in the sense of like, anybody could do this.
Like, I'm the sun and I'm going to shine bright, and you can be the sun too.
Exactly.
Well, that's like, that's one of the things I think that I have loved working with you over the years is that for me, like, I am always the big personality. Like, I'm always the like one, but it's so nice to have someone else there that's like, it's not that my shines brighter than yours, so you have to dim yours or vice versa. It's like, no, we're both going to shine bright. And like also empower other people to know that they can shine bright too. Yeah. Like there's space for all of us. And so I think it's such a gift to empower people by being you and celebrate them and encourage them to do the same thing.
I read this thing and I was just talking about it on my IG stories, and I say, when you're at the bottom, people think you're competitive. Right, but when you're at the top or reaching the top, people are collaborating with you. So it's a big difference, you know. So you're like, it's right. Like there's so much room for all of us. Like the things that you do, I'm not gonna do, and the things that I do, you're not gonna do. Right. Also, what they say, Oprah says this herself. Right. Oprah sponsored this. We're gonna be on the O show,
be like,
the O
Oprah
channel, right? She said it like so perfectly, and when you change your mentality, you could take it two different ways, right? Because if you're in a negative space, you would take this as competition, but if you take this saying in a very positive place, you're like, oh, this is like collaboration. Like, and she said it, and I always remember it says you can share your recipe, but the sauce won't ever taste the same. So why can't we both shine? Yeah, we're gonna be shining at different audiences, right? Like we could collaborate and create a bigger shine to help out others, to be there for anybody else, especially us. Like my biggest mission, like when you ask me what's next, is I just want to help other people, like to be like, look, if I could do it, you could probably do it better than I can, right? And so that's just the mentality of it. So I just love seeing other people who are like, let's just hit the top. Like there's no top to this house. Like we're just going to be rocking it out. Like, cause that excites me. That gets me energized. Cause I'm like, all right, like I don't like to be the only one doing things anymore. Right. Like when it comes to like an environment now, I'm like, come on with me. Let's go do this. You know? Yeah,
for sure. Well, like it doesn't have to be lonely at the top.
It doesn't.
Cause you can have a bigger circle or invite people to step up to a different game. I love that. That's so good. What a good conversation.
Crazy.
Thank you so much for this and for coming and chatting. So there's something that I do on the Paula Peralta show.
What is
for
it?
Every single guest. It's
besides my favorite drink.
Da 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 da. Do you want to tell them?
Sponsored. This is sponsored by Topo Chico and Tajin. What is it?
Well, okay, so I love Crocs.
I was just talking about this with Noogie yesterday with my class.
Oh, because
you're starting a Croc trend in LA. I hope you know that.
I do know.
Like he showed up with like some super cool Crocs that had like spikes and all this and that. Like my team was like, "Can we wear Crocs?" I was like, I'm gonna tell Paula she's starting something.
Well, okay. So that's what's really funny is that so every guest gets a pair of Crocs, and I had to choose the right ones for you. Okay, so these are your Croc sandals.
Oh my god!
So they're like, because you could wear them as a casual moment.
Oh my god, I love
them. It's like a neutral.
Oh
it's
my god!
They're kind of a vibe. So you can wear them casual. You can wear them as house shoes if you want.
Because I've been wanting Crocs forever because of you.
Yes, absolutely. So
oh my god, I love them. And they're stylish. Check out the size.
They're cool.
These are not just your average Crocs, y'all. These are stylish. Like I'm not gonna see no nurse walking around with these.
No, which I was like, because I don't expect you to wear Crocs in your salon. Although that would be hysterical if you would.
The ones Noogie has,
cute.
Those I honestly feel like those we could get away with.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
For sure.
I love
1,000%. Anyway, so I was like, for your first pair of Crocs, if you need chunkless so you can remember where you come from. You gotta bring me some chocolates.
Chocolates. I mean, they weren't this nice, but
I know, right? Seriously.
This is still an elevated, humble reminder.
Right? Listen, they have all kinds of colors and platforms. There, I was like, pulled her. I was like, we're gonna baby step you into it.
I'm like, I'm about to take these off and put these on. They go with my suit.
They do go.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh,
you made my Crocs dream come true. And you remember you've been having to take me to the Crocs store. Every time I come, we're like, we're gonna go to the Crocs store, and then something happens, we get busy, or like, and not that we don't get busy apart, we just work so much together that it's like just doesn't happen.
There's no time.
So how often can I come to the Paula Peralta show to get Crocs?
Well, we'll see if Crocs sponsors.
I'm literally gonna put this right here.
I was in the store like choosing so many different ones, and I was because there's like the little things you can put on them. I was like trying all these different ones, and I was like, it's just not like. Just wasn't landing for Orlando. Like I needed to figure out the rights. And then I saw those and I was like, okay, beautiful. I feel like these are me. These are your gateway Crocs.
The color is everything. Yeah. Like these are me. Yeah. Like I'm going to be addicted to these.
Good. I love it.
Thank you so much.
You're going to enjoy it. Anyway, well, thank you for being here. No, it's been a pleasure. This conversation's awesome. And yeah, I think it's going to help a lot of people. Yeah. So thank you so much.
And I really want to thank you because I know your goal with this is just to help out others. Again, like, you want to be that platform, and I love that about you is because we come from similar backgrounds, right? We come from similar struggles. Everybody has a struggle at the end of the day. But like I always say, like you're showing people how to get past the storm, right? Because even if you stand in the storm and don't move, the storm is going to get past you. So I love that you're creating this platform to like help out others, especially people who don't know, because there's a lot of people who don't know. There's a lot of people who don't know that you could get past it. And once you get past it, like, yes, you're wet, but once you dry up, like you're gonna look even better and bigger than like you were. So like, I just want to thank you for like creating this podcast and bringing some awesome names together who like all come from similar backgrounds, or like not even just that, all come from like a struggle that they had to get past it. Yeah. So I'm very honored and thankful to be here. Like,
I'm so happy to
it's just
here.
I love working with you, my twin.
I love you. love you. Amazing. Well, if you guys love this episode, make sure you share it and like it and comment and tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Go talk to your neighbors.
Your dogs and cats.
Everybody. Your enemies, I don't care. Go tell somebody. And we'll see you next episode.
Love it.
Bye, everyone.